Nice little shady spot. So this season, ideally, I just want to use this 3-weight. I don't want to use any other rod. These are big enough, these Euro 10-foot 3-weights, that they're fighting, but it's equivalent of a 5-weight anyway. So for all these rivers, it's fine. And in line with that, last season I got a bit tired of constantly changing my reel and rod. I previously had the Euro line on this, so that's an unweighted line, but I found that, you know, once I started going to micro leader, that line never came off this actual reel. Therefore, you know, it was kind of pointless having it on there. So what I've done is I've taken that line off and I've now put on a 3-weight floating line, weight forward 3-weight. So what that allows me to do is easily switch in between my Euro nymphing and my dry fly fishing, or you know, whatever else I need with a floating line. So at the moment, following last night, I've got the floating line here straight to a tapered 5X leader, but I'm going to remove that now and show you how I sort of interchange between this and a Euro rig. So this is just on a loop-to-loop connection, so you know, it's as easy as just, well, famous last words, pulling that through, pulling it out, and done. So what I've got here is some micro light leader. So I'm using, I think this is Pierre Sempe Rose 1.164 millimeter. So that's equivalent diameter of probably about 5X tippet. Yeah, 5X tippet. So it's very thin. It doesn't hold memory much. Previously I used Amnesia, which was same, it was nylon, but it was about double this thickness. So I'm just trying to go as thin as possible while maintaining that breaking strain. Also what I've done here, as you can see, this is the end of it that goes towards my line. So that's got a large loop, and I'll show you why shortly. I store it on here. So what I'll do is I'll just go this large loop, put it through there, and because it's so large I can pass this through, which allows me to do all the line at once, rather than, you know, I'd have to get 40 feet and try and feed it through this loop to loop, and then that's on, and now I can pull this off and put it on. I'll put it on the rod, and then I'll run you through exactly the setup of this micro leader itself. Now to loop to the floating line. I've got it on there. What I'll do now is just quickly reel. I like to, there's no real easy way to do this. I just sort of hold it there between there, and it's sort of, you can see it just doing its own thing. So yeah, I've got 40 feet of this stuff, so quite a lot, because the intent is that this floating line will never come off this reel when I'm Euro nymphing. Because what happens, and actually I'll bring it back just to demonstrate. What happens is if you've got the weight of this line, you can see how it actually, you know, it pulls. Look at these loops here, and it does that in between each of these eyes as well. So the line's actually heavier than your fly. So what it's doing is that when it pulls like that, you're not in contact with your nymphs. You've got all this slack line, so you can't actually feel it. With this thin stuff, there's none of that. So you're dead tight. So your only thing that you can feel is pretty much the nymph on the end. So you're in contact, hence why it's called a lot of the time Euro nymphing or contact nymphing. And so, you know, the thinner and the less weight that this stuff has, the more theoretically in contact, and well, it's not theoretically, it's actually, you can feel it in contact. So that line will never come off my reel, unless I'm, you know, dry fly fishing and that, and I've got the other leader on. But purely for Euro nymphing, that's why you don't even, theoretically, you don't even need a line on there. You just need this micro leader or some sort of nylon, right? Okay, so that's all off now. So that's what empty. So when I want to take this off, all I do is I grab the end of this, start putting it around there, and I just start, if I can get it correctly, you get the idea. I just start wrapping this, and I just wrap all that until I get to the fly line, and then I remove it like I showed you before. So my actual leader setup is purely this Sempe Pro micro nylon to a surgeon's knot. You can triple surgeon's knot at least. Sometimes I use 4 times. I'll go through 4 times if it's really thin. The issue is joining 2 different diametered lines together can sometimes slip, so always just test your knot. And then I go about, I don't know, maybe 5 feet, 6 feet of 6x tippet. Could go even lighter, 7x if you had to. And that's it. And then what I'll do is I'll just use that wax that I've shown you previously, and I'll just, as soon as it gets to this where the tippet is here, I'll start waxing that however far I need it, and that'll be my cider. So I don't really use any cider material like we used to with the cider nylon you could buy, and you'd put, you know, cider between here and here, and then you'd have to sort of manage your depths however by changing that. I don't know, it's just complicated. This is so much easier because you can put the wax on. If I want to fish really deep, I'll just wipe that wax off so I can go really deep with this leader, tippet, sorry. If I want to just go super shallow, then I'll put my wax indicator down to about there with about, you know, 3 feet of tippet under there without the wax, and that'll be the bit that's under the water. So yeah, that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Test out this season. It's just simple. That's what I'm going for. 1 rod, 1 reel, 1 line. Change out the leaders and go as light as possible, so this thin stuff can just cut through that wind, less resistance. Cool. That's get cracking. Wax. So you can see that's where that micro leader starts, where I tied out the surgeon's loops to the tippet. So this tippet now I'm fishing about 3.5 feet. And I put the cider there, and that just rubs off if I need it, and lets me adjust the depth that I want to fish, because I want that leader. Oh, there was a little rise there just off the surface. He was just sipping. It's mid, feeding off midge, I reckon.